This is Season 5 of The Score, the Team Roping Journal's podcast, where we cover the roping industry from top to bottom. This is where the team roping world talks. We talk through tough subjects, we talk big wins, and we talk real issues affecting the community. I'm your host and editor of the Team Roping Journal, Chelsea Shaffer.
Are you ready to instill the spirit of excellence? Four-time world champion and Smarty founder Alan Bach knows that in order to be a pro, you have to train like a pro. Keeping the roper's needs in mind, Smarty offers an extensive line of training products for ropers of all levels and disciplines. If you need it, we have it, including a complete saddle and apparel line to keep you and your horse in style going down the road. For more information on products, training camps, or our Smarty Young Pro incentives, you can follow us on our social media pages, or you can check out smartyroping.com. If it's not a Smarty, it's just a dummy.
Hey ropers, by the time you listen to this episode of The Short Score, I have already recorded this episode. I recorded it on a Friday afternoon as one of my last tasks for the Team Roping Journal. Yep, I just admitted it. This is one of my last items to do for the brand, and that is recording and bringing you guys the Short Score podcast, which is brought to you by Smarty this week. I know usually a Short Score podcast is brought to you with all the happenings that happened over the weekend right before the podcast, which for this episode it would have been who won the American and a few other news updates from the team roping industry. But don't worry, I'm sure the Team Roping Journal crew has you covered. You can head on over to teamropingjournal.com or all of their social media pages, because I'm sure they're going to have news up about who won the American and more team roping industry news. So, this is my official announcement of my last and final episode as the host of The Short Score and co-host of the Score podcast. You'll hear my voice once more on Saturday, March 12th in the episode introducing a new roping.com roping tip. The podcast will continue with host Chelsea Shaffer, so you'll have a familiar voice there. Don't be left astray. The Short Score was branched off from The Score to bring team ropers and the industry weekly news updates about the sport we have all grown to love. And I was so happy, and still am so happy, that I've been a part of this journey. Throughout my career, I have been blessed to learn from some of the best in the industry. This industry has helped me grow as an individual, both in life and in my career. As a little intern, still in college with the magazine, then graduating and becoming a full-time employee, I am so thrilled that Chelsea Shaffer and the crew at Team Roping Journal took the leap of faith to hire on a little fresh girl out of college to join the team and help build this brand. This isn't a goodbye forever. I'm still going to be involved in the industry, so you'll see me around at jackpots, and I'm still going to be involved, just taking a different venture in my life. I'm going to leave you with a few things. I want everyone to know that I love this journey, and I hope everyone takes the risk and follows their dreams, because you don't know what's going to come from it. And with that being said, on this episode of The Short Score, I'm going to leave you guys 5 of my favorite episodes of The Score. It was hard to pick my top 5, but these are the 5 that I came up with. And you're going to listen to little clips. So if you like these clips I provided, you can go ahead and go to anywhere you listen to podcasts at and check out these episodes for yourself if you missed it. To start off my top 5 favorite clips, we're going to go back to Season 1 with an episode with Corey Kuntz.
I'm always fascinated by, we know you've had 30 years in the PRCA almost of experience with horses, but before that, I mean, did you start out as just some punk kid that could get by on any colt and just needed transportation, or did you grow up? How did you grow up? Were your parents horse trainers? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in the feedlot. My dad was a bareback rider and had never roped, and then kind of started messing around roping, and so by the time I was a kid, he was managing a feedlot, and I worked in a feedlot. Mm-hmm. So I did feel like I had a lot of ability, and I learned how to rope on a lot of different kind of horses, but I also learned how to ride colts, and I learned how to, I didn't learn like from many very good horse trainers or anything, but there were some just feedlot cowboys that worked at the feedlot where I grew up that broke colts, and so I learned how to do some of that, and making them turn around, making them move off your feet, just kind of the basic things. And then along, I had several pretty good horses kind of through my high school years.
Did you high school rodeo?
Yeah, I junior rodeoed in the AJRA in Texas, and I roped with Larry D. Guy, and I roped with, and then I got into high school, and the horse that I had a young horse that was only 4 years old that I had won the World Junior Championship deal, and used to be in Allen, Oklahoma, and that was the big deal, and I won that, and then that horse got crippled, and I had to put him down. He had navicular real bad, and so after that I was kind of afoot, and Twister Kane let me ride one of his horses for a little while, and then Twister said, hey, I saw a horse that a little dun horse that looked pretty cool that a guy named Flynn Ferris has, and he wants to sell him because Flynn and Mike Macy were roping together, and they're trying to make the NFR, and this horse is just a colt, and he's got some ability, but he just needs rid of him. So I go try the horse and roped really good on him, and I can't remember what Flynn even priced him at, but just being a high school kid, I had $3,500 that I could spend on a horse. So I wrote out the check, and me and my mom went to try this little dun horse named Iceman. I rode the horse, loved him. Flynn asked if I was, do you want to buy him? I handed him the check, and it was folded, and I said, that's all I got. You can either take it, or I would love to have him, but that's all I got. He looked at it, and he gasped, and he just, oh, you got to be kidding me, and just kicking rocks, and just, and then he ended up saying, you know what, I need the money, I'll take it. And then that's where I high school rodeoed on Iceman, I college rodeoed on Iceman, went to 2 college national finals on him. I started pro rodeoing, roping with Rube Woolsey, and just that's where took off with Iceman, and I wanted to rope really aggressive and throw fast, and that horse let me do whatever I wanted to do. And I won a ton of stuff. I made the NFR on him. 92 was my first year, and then I won the George Straits, I won the BFIs, I won all of those different things on him, and he just always worked.
Did he have a learning curve?
His learning curve was probably about the same as mine. At the time, I was just that punk kid that I knew how to ride, and I knew what a horse was kind of supposed to do, but I didn't always. I had a T-shirt that said on the front, "Dare to be different," and I kind of lived by that. And so, even though the best guys in the world at that time were Clay Cooper, Alan Bach, Bobby Harris, and then looking back like at Leo Camarillo and the guys that were the very best, they were catchers. They made sure they caught 2 feet every time, and they didn't necessarily take the high risk shot. And that's what I wanted to do. I felt like I took a little bit from each one of those guys, but then I incorporated it into me, and wanting to be very aggressive with where I throw, but catch all of them, which I guess everyone kind of sets out to be that way. But I got to where I was a first and second hop roper, and the way we used to rope was, I would call it more of a spot roper, because my guys, all the best guys that I roped with,
you're good, we can edit it.
all the best guys I roped with ran to a certain spot, their horses made a move, it set the steer up, and I would throw in the same spot every time, no matter what. And so that kind of built me into who I was, whether it was Rube, Matt Tyler, Steve Purcella, Brett Boatwright, Daniel Green. I go on and on. I've roped with some great guys through the years, and then as heading started evolving and Speedy came along and guys started reaching further and kind of taking a hold of the steer less and kind of almost rounding the corner out, then there was a transition for me. Like I had to change some things of how I did it, because at the time, for a long time, I needed a switch. I needed that steer to hit out, load up, and then take a good hop. Well, then it changed, and that was kind of around the time I was roping with David Key, and he's trying to keep his horses moving forward. He's trying to kind of make more of a round corner, and man, that didn't fit me very good. And it was hard for me to change, but through a 2 or 3 year period there, and I missed the NFR, 2 or 3 times going through this learning curve, and now I feel like I've come out the other side. I feel like really no matter what the steer does, I still like it when a steer switches. It gives me a spot to ride into. It gives me a definite corner, but I also feel like now I can rope the steer even if he runs around the corner or if it's round or whatever happens, just by keeping my momentum on my swing, keeping my horse moving through the turn, and reading what my partner's going to do, and then come up with 2 feet. And so there's definitely a change through time, and that's present time now. That's where we're at.
When you're having trouble with something in your roping or your horses right now, who do you call?
I really don't have anyone.
No?
Through the years, me and Clay Cooper have been really good friends, and there's times where I might call Clay and talk to him, or I might even just see him somewhere, and him, it's kind of hard to get anything out of Clay sometimes. But there were times where he might just come up and give me some advice without me even asking. Just, maybe it was an angle on my swing. Maybe it was something that I just wasn't thinking and wasn't aware of. And but I don't really have anyone that I'm kind of a loner. I don't mind being by myself. I don't mind traveling by myself. I don't need a lot of cronies around me or anybody telling me that I'm doing great or not or whatever. And so I really don't have anybody that I just talk to all the time, or I go to if I'm struggling a little bit. I watch my own videos a lot, and I'll watch other guys' videos, and I'll try to break it down to the point where I realize what I'm doing and how to move through it, how to get through it, and how to do a better job. And then there's just no really replacement for just working hard at it. And so I really don't have that person I call. But
if you, at this level, how much help are other guys to one another, or like, are there secrets that guys want to keep for themselves? Like if Jade's working on something, is that Jade's secret? Or if Clay's working on something, does he always share everything? How forthcoming are people?
I think all the guys I'm buddies with, there's really, the only time I think anybody would kind of keep a secret is if they don't know if it actually works or not. They might be trying something and it's like, not really sure 100% if I really truly am going to count on this, but I'm going to keep working at it. I lived with Jade for a couple of years, and we roped together a lot, and we roped in the practice pen a lot, and there is that hunger, and he has that hunger to be better than anyone's ever been. And so I think he is constantly kind of trying some new stuff, and I'm old school enough that my advice to him was, hey, don't try to reinvent the wheel. There's a certain way it works, and you do that really, really, really good. Just keep doing that, and so there's a certain amount of, different guys' minds are different, and Jade has a real intricate way of thinking about team roping and how it all works, and anybody that knows him would know that. And he's not one to go out and, he would share stuff with me, but that was maybe as far as it went. Maybe a few other good friends that he trusted. But as far as, I think there's a real happy medium with changing with the times and doing what you need to do to win, but not overdoing anything to the point where you cause more problems.
Yeah.
And so there's a real happy medium in there with finding your niche and finding what works for you. Ride good, set the shot up, heel the steer. Keep it as simple as possible. So, but I say keep it as simple as possible, and we could sit here for 2 hours and I could break down heeling to the point where you're like, golly, I was better off before I ever heard anything you said. So, it takes a combination, I think.
Yeah. Huh. What, you said ride good. What does riding good mean to you?
Riding good to me is doing what your horse needs to make him the best he can be. I think it's being balanced. It's being, using your left hand and your feet at the same time to position your horse so that you set up your shot so that you can make your shot, and you do it in a way that your horse wants to keep working for you. It's building confidence. I've always felt like I build confidence in my horses, and they want to do good for me. They want to work for me. And some people might look at me like, what, they're a tool. You use your horse, and when you've used him up, then you get another one. And I somewhat agree with that to a certain extent, but I've had some horses for a long time that I felt like would die for me, and even though me and Remix have been through it, man, if I needed to jump that horse in the middle of a river, or he spooks at trash cans all the time, but if I make him, he would get in the trash can for me. So, it's kind of a deal where riding good is a relationship with my horse. It's being consistent with how I ride to set my shot up so that I build confidence in me and my horse, and in my team with my partner, and all of that working together so that you can do it more than one time in a row.
All right, let's jump ahead to season 2. First off, we're going to listen to a clip from the Jackal story. I love a good horse story, and who doesn't love a good Jackal story?
Jim went to riding him everywhere. Because I was thinking when he bought him, he was going to buy him kind of for the same reasons I did, for the NFR or the George Strait or, the littler setups in the wintertime. Well, then the next thing you know, Jim's riding him every steer that he runs. And he wins Cheyenne on him, which is the hardest rodeo probably on a horse that there is, because the score is really long and there's nowhere to go to the left. And so the heeler has to really pretty much score with your header. And here's Jim on a 24-year-old heel horse, and he wins the rodeo on him. So that seemed like to me, like if you say there's ever a moment that like people realize or somebody realizes something, I feel like that was kind of the day where if anybody was out there that didn't really believe anything that people talked about that horse, that was kind of the defining moment of like, okay, we get it now, you know what I mean? Like, because of the talk that, people that you didn't hear talk about him, like bulldoggers were talking about him, calf ropers were talking about him, and that was, so for me, that was kind of the day that everybody realized that, like, man, this is the greatest heel horse probably of all time.
That win at Cheyenne got Jackal yet another trip back to Vegas. It would be his last. There, Jackal carried Cooper to 2 go-around placings and a round 10 win that couldn't have been written any sweeter.
I don't want to give myself away on this because when Jackal made his last run at the NFR, I was the last team out that night, and at the time, I knew quite a bit about the situation, but I thought that I had to catch to win the world. Or I knew I had to catch to win the average, and I wanted to do that, and then obviously we'd win the world too. So not a time to probably not be thinking about that. And when they go, Boyd Polhamus was only talking about him. Like, I'm sure he did announce their names, but if he did, I didn't hear it. And he just goes to rattling off all these stats about Jackal. And because there was kind of this joke between like a few of us that we just thought that he was going to drop dead. Like we didn't think he was going to get old and have to retire. Like we thought he was going to be exactly how he was, and one day, just like Walt did, like he's just going to drop dead. And so the same exact type of feeling I had when I bought him, or the reason I wanted to buy him, I had the same exact reel of a feeling when he's talking, because you can't hear hardly anything back there. And I'm in a spot where you really can't hear anything, and I can hear everything he's saying all of a sudden. And all I could think about was like, he's going to drop dead. He's going to die when he gets out the back end. Like, and I'm truly believing that. So I'm thinking, like, I don't care what's going on. I'm like, somebody's got to get back there. Like, he's going to die. That's all I'm thinking about. And so then they go and they're 4-1 and winning the day money. And at the time, the situation that the people were in after him, like, they're going to win the day money. And I know that. So I'm like, wow, like last round, he's winning it. You're going to win it. I'm like, he's going to die. Like, he's going to die. So that was kind of a hard moment for me because I really did think it was going to happen. I was worried. I was really worried. Which, see, I mean, it sounds weird to say it even now. Like, I remember thinking then it seemed weird that, like, I'm that worried about it when it hasn't even happened. But just everything that we had talked about and how we thought it was going to go down, and now all of a sudden, it probably is his last NFR. And, of course, winning the day money, and I'm just like, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen tonight. Like, if he's going to go down like we think he is, tonight's the night, is what I was thinking. And the weird part to me is that I thought so many things in a decent amount of, or not very much time. And now I'm up all of a sudden, and I'm not ready. Like, now they're opening the gate, yelling at me to get in the box, and I'm like trying to get my rope ready. Because I was literally just sitting there, had my rope on my horn, and I'm just trying to look kind of down towards the back end, trying to see if I can see. And because the 10th round, the team that wins the go-around doesn't take the victory lap, the average winners do. And so they don't wait really right there where they do, if, like, you know, on the other 9 nights if you win the round. So I'm like bending down, trying to look up the tunnel as far as I can see, can't see nothing. Like, I'm thinking there'll be a herd of people running down there if he dies when he gets out the back end. So, I mean, I feel like an idiot saying all this, but I mean, might as well tell the truth, I guess, and that's really what I was thinking. So, I guess good to know that he didn't once I got out the back, but so that was a relief. But I've never really told anybody that, like, exactly what I was thinking at that moment, because, I mean, now I guess it's enough time that I didn't want my partner to know what I was thinking at the time, because I'm going to say he wasn't thinking about that. But I got through it, we caught, and no harm, no foul. But even after the run, like, I mean, everything that happened and what I should have been thinking, I was still thinking about that. So I didn't really get to, I mean, I did enjoy the moment, but not in the actual moment as much as I would have on, say, a normal day. So that was kind of, I guess that was the moment for me that I realized how much I actually did care about that horse, you know, so.
It was a little bit, you know, it dang sure tug at your heart a little bit to see in the 10th go-round, and it's not an easy go-round, him to just get up around one and just pull back and win I think they won the round in the very last round that he was ever competed on there. And so that was a pretty cool deal, pretty good way to finish off a great career.
Nobody doubts that there was something in Jackal, call it heart, grit, or God-given ability, that made him the legend that he was.
He had to have heart because, you know, he got to the point, there's no telling how many miles that horse went. You know, because there was a stretch when Michael Jones had him that was the only horse he had, and he rode him everywhere. And so the miles, you know, the steers he had run on him, if he didn't have heart, he wouldn't have made it half the time that he did.
Following that from season 2, again, I love a good horse story, a good heel horse story. If I might add, we're going to listen to a clip from Patrick Smith's Amigo.
Definitely hard to replace a horse like that. I don't know that he'll ever be replaced. I have people ask me all the time, you know, which one was better, Jaws or Amigo? And I have to go with Amigo, as great as Jaws was. Everybody loved Jaws. He was awesome. I loved him. But just the longevity that Amigo's had, the amount of things that I've been able to do on him. And like I said, there wasn't a scenario that, in my opinion, he wasn't the best at. It didn't matter if it was short score, long score, practicing, whatever I wanted him to do, he was awesome at it. I can't speak highly enough of him. Yeah, even Trevor Brazile can catch 2 feet on him, that's for sure. That's the reason we painted him on the wall. It had nothing to do with any more than that. Trevor could catch on him. Man, he is amazing. So Trevor has ridden him several times at the timed event. He's won the timed event so many times. I don't even know how many times it had to do with Amigo, but I do recall one time that I tried to get him to ride Amigo there. And he's like, no, I'm going to ride this horse here. And he missed riding that other horse. He wouldn't have missed on Amigo. And then he lost his rope on this other horse too, and he wouldn't have done that on Amigo either. So he has ridden him several times there. I know if he was sitting here, he would attribute a lot of good things to Amigo and his success as far as the timed event goes, and especially as far as our team roping career goes. I know that he would have a lot of good things to say about Amigo. He loves him on the grass. He talks about him at Pendleton, and I won Pendleton on him. He's one of the only horses I've ever seen that slides as much as he slides, but you can ride him on the grass, and he just knows how to move his feet, man. He really is a special animal. I've actually let my dad heel some on him in the last couple of years. My very first steer that I let my dad run on him, and my dad's a number 4 heeler that doesn't rope very much and didn't even start roping until he was over 50 years old. So I let him run 4 steers on Amigo one day, and he runs the first 2 steers, catches 2 feet both times and dallies and goes, man, no wonder you've done good. I had no idea. I thought you were better than you were. This is easy. So he just was talking about how, what a difference it really does make. He's like, I had no idea. But my kids have ridden him. Eli, my little boy, is 5 years old. I let him ride him around. I will tell you a little funny story about him. You have to be careful with him because he is super gentle, easy to be around. I mean, kids can go jump on him bareback. It doesn't matter. But, man, when you get in the arena and you boot him up and cinch him up, he's a victory lap and a warm-up crazy. I'm talking about this horse is crazy. I look like I'm two-handed reins. I'm sure that you guys, some of you've probably seen it or witnessed it. Trevor's always made fun of it. But, I mean, he looks like a runaway when you go into a victory lap or any kind of a warm-up where I'm going to blow him out a little bit and get some speed. He goes crazy. So my brother brought his stepsons over here one day. One of them is 7 years old, and I'm letting him ride my horse around. One of the guys that was helping me that day is getting Amigo ready for me. Well, this kid's on him. I'm roping, not really paying attention. He puts his boots on him, cinches him up a little bit, and this little kid is sitting at the back of the arena. I run a steer on this other horse and dally, and all I see is a blur go by. And I turn and look. This kid has never ridden horses. I mean, he's only been on one horse in his life. And he looks like Whiplash the monkey, both hands on the saddle horn, hunched over the saddle. How he stays on him, I don't know. But Amigo makes a full lap around the arena as fast as he can possibly go. And I'm just in panic mode, thinking this kid's fixing to hit the fence or go flying. He hangs on, and Amigo goes to the very end of the arena, turns, and I'm thinking, please stop, please stop. He's just head down, headed right back at me. But really cool. The kid stays on. I lope in front of Amigo, and I just holler whoa to him, and he does. He just stops and rides right next to me. And this kid's eyes are bugged out of his head. Not crying, nothing, smiling. He's like, man, that was fun. But definitely means business when you get in the arena. So super gentle. I want my kids to ride him, but they need to learn to be careful because he's still got some fire for sure.
This industry continues to blow me away, especially being able to meet and interview an icon, an awesome musician and artist in Cody Johnson. Enjoy this interview from season 4 of The Score.
It's so crazy to look at you guys in your industry, in the music industry, and how much you guys do go and how much you are putting out there for your fans, and it's mind-boggling.
Well, and it's different for us too. Like in my camp, every night before we go on stage, I tell my guys, don't leave anything behind. Like just play it like it's your last show, because you never know. It could be your last show.
Yeah.
And we never airmail it in. it's always 100%. When you see me on stage, like, and you see the sweat, and even if you see me breaking into tears over stuff, that's real. You know, and that's draining. It's draining on a person, and I do miss it. I have missed very much, like when we had our off time. I mean, there was nights I'd stare at pictures of 12,000 people in a crowd and just think, God, I miss it. I miss them. I want to be there, but everything happens for a reason, and God's a lot smarter than I am. So I'm just going to keep riding this.
Definitely. And it, you say you miss it. You miss your fans in the crowd. What was it like? I guess looking back, maybe your very first show. What was it like walking up on stage? Do you remember like that feeling?
Well, there's a reason I don't give kids in the industry advice, is because I skipped my first college final to go play my first gig. And I just said, college is not for me. I just feel like I got a calling, and I went and played for $100, and it was an acoustic night at some bar, and it was just, I felt like I was on top of the world. And then you fast forward to Houston Rodeo, coming in the first time. I mean, my legs were shaking like I was back bull riding. And then, a little further down the line, we played in Gillette Stadium for 85,000 people with George Strait. And it didn't seem like it was a big deal. It just, I've looked back and seen the progression of the desensitizing of, man, it just kind of is what I do, but that feeling that you get, I can't describe it.
Yeah.
There's not a drug on the planet, I'm sure of it, that comes close to it. It's just, when you give yourself to those people, and then they give back to you, that energy is just something you can't replace. I mean, that's why most of the nights when I walk back in the bus, I'm drenched with sweat and I'm panting,
Yeah.
But I love it. There's nothing I'd change about it.
That's awesome. And I know you said obviously you started in the music industry at a young age. Let's talk about like your roping background, your rodeo background. When did you kind of get into that industry?
So my sophomore year of high school, I wanted to start riding bulls, and I rode through high school, rode a little bit out of high school, and I was good enough to win a buckle or two. I was good enough, but I wasn't. That's not where my talent was, and I didn't have any physical direction back then. Like now, I mean, I work out 3 or 4 times a week. Doug Champion with Champion Fitness is my trainer, and I do yoga and all kinds. I mean, like if I would have had that kind of drive then, I probably could have been more successful. But I was also young and stupid too. I thought I was Clint Eastwood when I was 18, and my wife says sometimes I still do. But so when it fizzled out, I focused so hard on music, but I knew that I just had to be connected to rodeo. So, I mean, I would rope with my friends and no direction, nobody telling me you ought to do this, you ought to change this. It was just roping for fun. Yeah. And cutting horses became a passion. I rode cutting horses for a little while, and I love it. I enjoy roping more.
Yeah.
And it's always just kind of been it's always been in the background, and I've always felt that calling of like it should be in the forefront. So, like I said, when we've had this time off, my wife and I just bought a ranch in Madisonville with arena and stalls, and just kind of making a life change because my little girls are 6 and 4.
Okay.
And it's my responsibility to introduce them to this. Yeah. I'm a first generation rodeo cowboy in my family. There's no cowboys in my family, so I want to make that change in the cycle. That way, and they say about hunting, they say with little girls, you hunt with your daughter so you don't have to hunt for your daughter. And I figure as long as they're in the arena with me and mama, I mean, there's a lot to be learned on that dirt. There really is.
Last but not least, this is one of my favorite interviews that I got to do. And that was in season 4, interviewing NFR qualifier, Marty Yates.
And I want to talk about it too. What's that horse you and your aunt JJ? Yeah. What's that horse that you were riding? That doesn't JJ have it now?
Oh yeah, well she did. That was a horse that actually come from Ryan Jarrett, my traveling partner. I bought him and just kind of going to take him along, and he got pretty good, but he just was funny on the end of it in the calf roping. And then JJ, she needed something kind of. She was going through kind of a little horse problem, and she jumped on him, and it went amazing. Yeah. So she freaking took the world by storm. She won everything on that horse, and he was older whenever I sold him. I think he was, I don't even remember, he's 21 maybe now. So he was dang sure, still had some age on him then. And she got some good years out of him. But he was dang sure good for her for quite a few years.
Yeah, and I mean, JJ is a winner.
Yeah,
so.
she might just make a horse good. She just needs them to leave off her hand decent. And as long as they get her kind of close, she's all right.
Yeah, and how, having JJ in your corner, I love just talking to JJ, hanging out with her, and I know it's fun. I love watching her at the NFR when they scan over to her on the screen. She's always hooping and hollering. Oh, yeah. What's it like having JJ in your corner?
She's nuts. It's awesome having her. I wouldn't want any. I mean, she's and go a different way with it. She's an ultimate competitor too, and she's feels that way, like when she's sitting in the stands, it looks like to me.
Yeah.
She's loving it. She's wishing she was down there. But, man, it's been awesome to have somebody like her behind me and pushing me my whole life. I mean, not just my career. I mean, she was there from the day I was born, and she's just a winner in life, really, not just in rodeo. I mean, she has a wonderful family, Kaysen and Ricky, and Kaysen, he's kind of getting into it now, and it's been cool for JJ to help him, and now it's kind of hard for her because, well, now it's the ultimate deal for the breaker ropers. They get to go rodeo, and she feels like she needs to be home with him, but I think they're making it work, and I don't know. She's helped me more than I can sit here and talk about. You know, she's helped me with lots of things, but she's incredible, and I appreciate her to be my aunt. You know.
Yeah. Is it cool having her, like, you know, getting to go down the road now?
Absolutely, yeah, because she calls me and she's going all the same places, and she asks me about what are the kids, what's the start, yada, yada, yada. Which she's pretty intense. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've talked to her a lot, but she doesn't. She might throw some strange language out a little bit most of the time, but she's intense. And if you're down and out, I haven't been winning a whole lot, and it's been kind of rough. And she's been positive the whole way. Which she's had great success out here, and just like we all figured she would. But it's been nice to have her in my corner for sure.
Definitely. And I want to step back. You know, you talked about JJ's been there all your life. Let's kind of talk about where you came from and just your background story. Who's Marty Yates?
Yeah. Just one of the first rodeo guys in Stephenville, I guess you could say. Everybody lives there now, but they all ask if I just came from, if I just go to school in Stephenville. I'm like, no, I was born and raised there. And it's a completely different town, but no, I was born and raised right there in Stephenville, and had a great family behind me. Kind of started off a little bit different than most kids probably. My dad died in a car wreck before I was born, and that kind of set us up maybe to not have the best start, you know, for me and my mom. And then, of course, my grandma and grandpa and everybody, they stepped in, and my dad's side of the family, they've been awesome. You know, so I never went without. You know, I had everything I needed, and I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, my dad's with me all the time, and just blessed to get to do what I do. Things happen for a reason. I was blessed with the talent, so I that's what I try to keep in my mind, is just, God give me this talent, I'm going to use it until another door opens.
Yeah. And so your dad died before you were even born. Obviously you've heard all the stories about him. He rodeoed. What's something that people always tell or used to tell you about him? Or
probably that he was such a people person, which is kind of strange because I'm not as outgoing as they act like he was. But everybody loved him. He was the center of attention. I don't know. It goes on and on. It just seems like he was the ultimate guy, and I don't know that I'll ever be the guy that they talk that he was. But I just hope that maybe I have enough in me that I'll be a good person just like he was, and people think good of me. But I don't know. I've never heard one person say a bad thing about him or him not having any fun or enjoying life. So I'm just thankful to, I guess, get to be his son, really.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's terrible that you never got to meet him.
No, but
it's a cool story.
It's life, and life goes on, and like you say, you just got to believe and keep moving forward and know everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And, okay, let's talk about, what was it like qualifying for your first NFR?
Man, it was a dream come true, of course. Every little kid grows up. Just hoping and praying and wanting to be there so bad, and then it just comes into reality. I went out my first year and didn't have hardly any luck. My horse was terrible. I had a lot to learn. I'd grown up my whole life, and I'm making the NFR the first year I go, and I got slapped in the face the first year, and then go out there the next year, and the winter was great. I got to rodeo with Hanchy and Cliff Cooper, and it was just like, man, I belong out here, you know. And then I went to win and had a great fourth. And then, of course, every season has a little rocky point in it, and that it didn't slow us down much. And then show up to the finals, and it's like, holy cow, it was everything I ever dreamed of too. It wasn't like it was a letdown. It was unbelievable. And that's me saying that. I wish little kids would realize, hey, it really does mean something. Like it's awesome. It is the pinnacle of it. So I don't know. It's like I say, it's the dream come true.
Again, thank you all for listening. Go ahead, if you liked any of these clips, you can find them all on the Score podcast. Go back to which seasons I told you about. Listen anywhere podcasts are at. This is not goodbye. This is I'll see you down the road. I'm Kaitlin Gustave, the former host of the Short Score podcast, signing off.